When my dad told me to build a scarecrow to keep the crows out of the corn, I wanted to do it right. I didn't just throw some rags on a post. I put my heart into it, a tattered shirt and pants from the attic stuffed full of straw. I found an old beaten-up hat in the barn and stitched on button eyes with a grin that stretched from ear to ear, twisted and unsettling. It wasn't just a scarecrow, it was something more, something with a life of its own. But back then, I didn't know just how terrifying that grin would become. The scarecrow didn't just sit in the field like it should have. People began talking about strange things happening at our farm. Every night it seemed like there were footsteps crunching through the rows of corn, footsteps too heavy to be any animal and too erratic to be my dad. That night, as I stared at the scarecrow through my bedroom window, I noticed it watching me. I could see it, a vague shape just far enough away to blend with the cornstalks, but close enough for me to notice when it moved. Each night, the scarecrow's twisted grin seemed to grow wider, its eyes more intent following me whenever I passed by. I started locking my window at night. I'm not sure why, but I was a little scared of it. One day, a few of the boys from school found out about the scarecrow, the one I'd built with my own hands. They already bullied me enough, but this gave them fresh ammunition. They called it my monster and taunted me in the hallways. They'd yank me by my backpack straps, steal my lunch money, and called me Scarecrow Boy. And of course, they dared each other to walk through the field at night. Billy was the worst of them. He went first. He swaggered up to me one afternoon and sneered, "Let's see your little monster scare me." I didn't respond. I just hoped he'd leave me alone. But that night he did go into the field. I know because I watched from my window as his flashlight bobbed through the rows of corn, getting smaller and smaller until the light vanished entirely. The next morning, Billy wasn't at school, and he didn't show up the next day or the next. His parents put up missing posters, and the whole town searched for him. But deep down, I knew he wasn't coming back. Then one night, as I peered out my window, I noticed something strange. The scarecrow had changed. A new detail, a small, dirty piece of plaid fabric, just like the shirt Billy had been wearing, now dangled from the scarecrow's left arm. It looked grafted on, like a trophy. It didn't stop with Billy. One by one, the other boys who teased me, the ones who took my money and threw stones at me, dared each other to walk through the cornfield at night. They'd laugh as they strutted past me, mocking my fear. But just like Billy, they vanished. And each time, the scarecrow changed. A shred of denim from Mikey's jacket, a patch of leather from Donnie's sneakers. I could feel the scarecrow's twisted smile widening with every kid who disappeared, its grin now laced with dark satisfaction. Rumors spread through town faster than the news. People started calling the field cursed, and parents warned their kids to stay away. But still, some dared each other. They'd gather on the edge of the field, challenging one another to walk through the rows of corn under the moonlight. And if they were brave or stupid enough, they'd go in ignoring the warnings, and every single one who did vanished. By then, no one even looked at me without a trace of fear in their eyes. They whispered that maybe the scarecrow was more than just straw, that maybe it had a piece of me in it. After all, I was the one who'd built it, right? Even my own dad started looking at me strangely, like he wondered what sort of power I'd unleashed. One night I finally couldn't take it anymore. I decided to end it, to rip that thing apart and bury it where it could never hurt anyone again. Armed with a flashlight and a shovel, I stepped into the field, shivering as the wind rustled through the corn, making it sound like whispers all around me. The flashlight flickered and went out just as I reached the scarecrow, my heart pounding. But the scarecrow, it was waiting for me. Up close, I could see all the little bits and pieces of the boys who had vanished, sewn into its straw limbs like badges. And its face, the wide, crooked grin, was even more twisted, its button eyes gleaming with an evil glint. I raised the shovel, my hands trembling, and swung with all my might. The scarecrow's head lolled to the side, but it didn't fall. Instead, it straightened itself, arms creaking as if the straw inside were alive, bending toward me. I stumbled back, tripping over the rows of corn, hearing the rustle of straw as the scarecrow leaned forward as if to step off its post. Then I heard the voices, faint, whispering from within the scarecrow's straw-stuffed chest like a terrible chorus. They called my name, voices overlapping, all desperate and hoarse. Billy's voice, Mikey's voice, all the others who had tormented me, now begging to be set free. I dropped the shovel and ran stumbling blindly through the corn until I burst into the open air gasping. I haven't gone back to the field since. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I hear the faint scraping sound of straw dragging across the ground, coming closer to the house, a scratching at my window as if the scarecrow is waiting, watching, its twisted grin pressed against the glass, waiting for me to finally come back to it. And I know deep down that it won't wait forever.